Okay, friends, we're going to get in the way back machine today, and we're going to go all the way back to the 1800s and into the 1900s a little bit. But we're going to talk about Louis Cyr. And you've probably heard of Louis Cyr potentially being the strongest man in the world, and he probably was in his time. And so this first article that we're covering is out of a 58 muscle builder magazine called The Coming of Cyr, basically talking about a little bit about his family and kind of how he got started in the whole professional strongman situation. And it was written by Mac Batchelor, who was a strongman, a performing strongman himself, and I think he even did some of the same lifts, or at least types of lifts that Cyr did, and he definitely did a back lift. So he's from Quebec, Canada, 1863, which, as it says in the beginning there, was right around the same time that the Civil War was going on. Obviously, this was in Canada, so didn't have too much to do with each other, really. This is Louis's mom, who apparently is where he got his size from, because his dad was pretty much a normal sized guy and was not known for excessive strength or anything like that. But you saw Cyr's mom was really big. When he was born, he was like 18 pounds, so he had a heck of a start. So there wasn't any 90-pound weakling story with Louis Cyr. These are his specs and stats at like 32, that last page. So definitely a huge guy. And of course, he had a big gut. He was not a bodybuilder at all. He was just big, and but he had plenty of muscle. This is I don't know if this is from a video or something that was a kind of a simulation of the first real contest that he was in, where he's lifting that stone, and it's known as the Cyr stone, and it was over 500 pounds. And as it describes, he was up against this guy Michaud, who was a popular strongman of the time, and people were kind of riding Michaud about, hey, when are you going to go face this young guy? And so that's when they got together. And they didn't have barbells right then in those days, and certainly didn't have them readily available. So they went out to a field and they found this big, huge rock. And Michaud did eventually move it, but just a little bit. And then it was up to Cyr, and he went and not only moved it, but he, stood up with it. So obviously he bested Michaud in that case. And that was really the start of his career. We're going to go on later, and there was another article written by Pullum, who's another old school guy. He's from way back, talking about Cyr and some of the other stuff that he did later on. And he certainly did some impressive things, and has been pretty commonly accepted now that the other Canadian, Doug Hepburn, and Anderson, who were around the same time, also big, heavy guys, surpassed Cyr in most of the things. But, in a little bit of a way, it's apples and oranges, because Cyr didn't do bench presses or deadlifts with a barbell. He did have the Cyr dumbbell, of course, which we're going to see again a little bit more later. Here's a thing from when he was in the circus then, that's showing a back lift. That picture is probably not real accurate as to how that back lift was done. We'll cover that a little more as we go on. So there's a couple different YouTubes to talk about, like Cyr versus Paul, and it's only giving you Cyr's records there, but and we'll look at those a little harder later. This gentleman is a giant. I'm not sure what even the contest was between these two guys, if they wrestled or something. Like, Edward was similar in weight, but obviously a heck of a lot taller. So I'm not sure even what that contest was. And that was a little bit later on. Before that, this is the part that's from the Pullum article. Now, this is him a little bit older, but, dressed in a suit. I'm not sure what the police uniform looked like in Canada in those days, but as it's talking about here, he did become a policeman at the age of 20, and he's a big dude. So it talks about this particular incident where he got called to break up a bar fight, ends up like knocking the guys' heads together, basically grabbing them both around their chest and more or less dragging them to the police station, however far away that was. So that's what these group of texts you'll see here are describing. There he is with arms folded. Let's see, he had like a 20 or 22 inch neck. And again, depending on which article you look at, 20 to 22 inch arms. So, certainly, and was over 300 pounds. So then, there he is with his family, the Police Gazette. So, little girl with the hair looks funny there. So after that episode where he takes the toughs into custody, superintendent sent for him and basically told him, you're wasting your time being a police officer. You're probably the strongest guy in the world. You should go out and, make some money for yourself. So that's indeed what happened. And so, the local papers, I'm sure, wrote him up and talk about this incident. This is a plaque that's up there describing various things that he did. And at the bottom there is where he was holding back horses, which we'll see a little bit better picture of later on. So again, as a result of the boosting of the papers and stuff, people that ran circuses and these kind of things got in touch with Sear, and there he is doing his record side press, which was 273. Now, as far as that goes, Anderson he would do 300 like that routinely, as shown here, and his best was 380. So, he beat Sear by 100 pounds. And Anderson was a big guy, but I don't think he was way over 300. Now, this is a one-finger deadlift, and as it says, usually it's listed as 535. Some have said 553 or something. Herman Garner used to do one-finger deadlifts. Don't know what his record was there, but one-hand deadlift, he did 729. Now, later on, we'll see where Sear did a one-hand stone lift of some sort with over 900 pounds. Interestingly, the current record for a one-hand lift, and that's with regular weights on a loading pin, is less than 300 pounds. It's like 285. Yeah, 285. And that's the Guinness Book current record, at least as far as I was able to see. Now, here's a picture of him doing his back lift, and this was 4,377. Remember that? It's going to come up in the next. There it is. Yeah, 4,337, and it was witnessed by 1,000 people, and he did a whole bunch of other things after that lift too. On that day. Now, here's Anderson's lift. Joe Rourke, in his Iron Game history, has a whole article about this. He disputes that it was really 6,270, but it's not really much question that it was a lot more than Sears lift. This might have been off by a little, but it wasn't off by 2,000 pounds by any means. Crucifix hold, he did it with 185. It was like two different sized dumbbells, but between the two of them, it was 185. Certainly very impressive at the time, but again, that's since been beat. So the Sears Stone, which is that first one, was 517, which is an estimate. Side press 273, back lift. The one finger lift with 535 is really impressive. The one hand lift with 987 and the two hand lift with 1897. And again, that's just moving a stone, getting it off the ground or off the floor. And that's it. But still, those are pretty crazy numbers. Here's Grimmick with the Sear dumbbell, and you see, modern strongman contests where to this day where they use that Sear dumbbell. Now Grimmick described it empty. It was one of those loadable dumbbells. It was 202 empty, but you could load it up to past 270. But Grimmick said they never did. So that's about it. Thanks for watching, and I am out.